For me, the pain was 20 years of eating disorders and not having any self-worth. All stemmed from losing my identity, having my identity wrapped up in something outside of me. Choosing yourself in that kind of situation for me felt like I was not choosing my kid, but I've never been happier with who I am now. Whatever you're thinking of right now, get in there because that is where the magic is. You went
Yeah.
through that for a purpose. I was going to my grave. It was the most shameful, gross thing I could think of was bulimia. When somebody says it, gives the next person to have permission. If there is a shameful thing in your past, you can make that mean something. The part of my book that wasn't going to be in the book was actually my purpose.
Welcome to Cake for Dinner. This is not your everyday mom podcast. We laugh, we curse, we tell the truth, and we're here to ditch the perfection culture. Today, I'm sitting down with Erin Washington, host of Therapy Podcast, author of From Pain to Purpose, and someone who's built her platform around turning real life pain into something meaningful. She's a mom, a storyteller, and a voice for women who are doing the hard work of healing while still showing up in their own lives. This one is honest, it's real, and it's going to hit home for so many of you. Erin Washington, welcome to Cake for Dinner.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this one. I feel like it's going to be very relatable. But before we really get into everything you're doing now, I would like to go backwards a little bit. When you talk about turning pain into purpose, what was the pain for you?
For me, the pain was 20 years of eating disorders and not having any self-worth. And I feel like it all stemmed from soccer. I have unpacked through therapy that at some point in my life, somebody must have complimented how good I was at soccer, and I made that my value and my identity. And I'm a firstborn obsessive personality, so I would train every day. It was all about soccer. I started varsity as a freshman in high school, played Division I soccer in college, and I made that my value. And when I was anorexic in high school, I hid it in soccer. I would just say I just needed to be fit and fast for soccer. And it evolved to exercise bulimia, which is you eat, but you cancel it all out on like an elliptical machine. It was my choice of equipment. And then it turned into full blown bulimia when my college soccer career was over. So it all stemmed from losing my identity, having my identity wrapped up in something outside of me. And from 16 to 36, I struggled with all the eating disorders, validating through relationships with men that I felt were important, which made me important. And I kind of got it all together in my late 30s after having 2 kids.
Hmm. Interesting. I feel like so many people struggle with that in different areas because when your worth is tied to something that's fleeting, whether it be motherhood, soccer, I mean, it could be a variety of things, but if that thing is going to change and that's where your worth lies, then you're in a struggle at some point.
Absolutely. If you're not deriving your worth from who you are, at some
Mhm.
point it's fleeting. You're not, you'll be a mother for the rest of your life, but your kids are going to leave. And if you're just putting everything into your kids, like they're going to go off to college and you need to find
Yeah.
value in who you are. And I think a lot of women don't find that until damn near 40. At least I didn't. And
Yeah.
I admit that I was projecting who I thought my husband wanted. He was in the prime of his career in the NFL, and I was coming out of bulimia. And if he liked me, then I was important. So I had to be chosen. So I would just be what I thought he wanted. I love horror movies and I love watching football all day. I would just be what I thought he wanted. And so that worked well while I was just kind of like on his arm and didn't have a lot of aspirations. But when I found my self-worth later on in life and stepped into purpose and my podcast and my books and my foundation, we weren't really aligned anymore.
Mhm.
As my career started to take off, I saw my marriage started to go the opposite direction. And it's hard. And we have 2 kids. And choosing yourself in that kind of situation for me felt like I was not choosing my kids and what they would want and having 2 parents in the home. So I'm still kind of navigating the shame and guilt that I feel for ending our marriage. And I get to stay in the house and the kids are going back and forth. But I've never been happier with who I am now. And
Mhm.
it would be a disservice to all of the work I've done on myself to stay in a marriage that no longer serves me. It would be a
Mhm.
disservice to my kids to show them that if they're not being valued and appreciated and supported, that you stay, because I would never
Right.
want that for them, and I'm the model of what they will be. So that's how I ultimately made the decision.
I love that. I'm sober also. So I work with a lot of women in recovery, and that's like a common theme. I feel like, especially for women getting sober later, that they have a lot of guilt, especially attached to their parenting. I always like to say, like, I don't know how much a kid learns from having like the cuss cut off their bread and a nicely packed lunch. Do you know what I mean? It's like I feel like they learn the most from watching us make choices that include valuing ourselves, is like the biggest one. And so I don't know. I think there's this idea that we teach our children, or our children are going to have stable lives if we stay married, if their life looks like this, if they have this. That didn't shake down that way for me either. So I don't know though. My kids are 19, and witnessing them grow in the face of a divorce and the death of their father, I think that they have grown into like feeling people and good people as a result, frankly, of the things they've gone through. So
Yes,
it's
I
like,
love that you said that. If anyone's listening to this right now contemplating, I'm not a proponent of divorce, but I guess it was so normalized for me in our society that you keep the family together, quote,
yes.
for the kids. But my kids never saw us just sit on the couch together. Like what love looks like, holding hands. Like there was so much toxicity. If you were staying for the kids, consider what that's really showing them. And if
Hmm.
it's like toxic behaviors, I don't want to share too much, but like certain things that were happening that my 10-year-old daughter was privy to when she's in a relationship and those things are happening to her, she's just going to say, "Oh, this is love. This is how mommies and
Right.
daddies talk to each other. I've seen this before." So
Right.
if you are staying only, and I use quotes again, for the kids, is that really serving them?
Yeah, I guess it boils down to a similar thing I think about sobriety is like it just depends on what your goals are in general,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yes.
what are you trying to pass down? What are you hoping to show? Because if your goal is just to stay married, you can probably patch that together, and then that would be a reasonable thing to do, you know? Um I
Yes. Can I say
in
something though? I'm not
yes, of
sober
course.
totally, and I feel I need to. You, how long have you been sober? Over 20 years, yes?
23 years. Yes.
Congratulations, that's incredible.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
what I have found, and I actually talked to Ginger Z from Good Morning America on my podcast. She went as far as saying that alcohol helped her heal from her eating disorder, and it
Interesting.
sounds like such a strange thing, but I have never felt something more. I think people that have a history of, you don't have to have an eating disorder, but disordered eating,
Yep.
restriction and deprivation, really struggle with staying sober or it's off limits, because all of the healing work that I've done to finally be able to enjoy a meal,
Is to
I'm
learn
not
to
going. Yeah,
right.
enjoy. My meals are experiences now. And again, not currently because I haven't been drinking, but I a great glass of wine would complement my meals, or an IPA with nachos or fries or something salty. I would want an IPA, and it did help me heal. Like now I can experience food and not use it as something to take away, something
Mhm.
to binge and purge on. When you do that healing work and then it's like you can't drink, you go back to this restrictive deprivation mindset that you've worked so hard to undo. So
Right.
to say sober, it's too hard for me, and it maybe somebody listening can relate. What I say, and this has worked for me, is that I can have a drink once a week if it's worth it. Weeks go by and there wasn't something worth it to me. But saying
Mhm.
that I can has kept me sober. And I don't want to say sober, I will say, honestly, I've been on this journey probably like 2.5 years, and I would have like 3 month stints where I wouldn't drink, and then I'd have a drink and I broke it, and then, like,
Yeah.
it's all over, going back to, like, the eating disorder and diet culture. This new way that I'm living now, I've had a couple cocktails on 2 different occasions in the last 3 months, and before I would look at it as I broke it, it's over, I messed it
Mhm.
all up, I messed up the days. But now I look at it as 2 days out of the last 3 months, I had cocktails, and that reframe I've completely changed my life and how I look at it, and I don't have it in the house, I rarely even think about it, and the last few times I've even been with my sisters, which is a very like, we never g like, don't drink when we get together. I haven't even wanted it. So me saying if I want it and it's worth it, I'm allowed to have it, has allowed me to continue to stay alcohol-free. Someone that has lived in the restriction deprivation, the sobriety
The
tagline or the
rigidity of right.
it was too hard to uphold, and it felt like restriction and deprivation after working so hard to get out of that and allow. Now I have to say I can have it if I want, and that might not be the right way to do it, and I didn't drink to excess often. There were times, and I have shame about that I did, but I was the person that would have a glass of wine or a beer every day, just with a drink. I wouldn't have 3, maybe I would have 2. It was never to
Mhm.
numb out. It was like I truly believe like it enhanced and complemented my meal. I've
Right.
gotten out of that, and now I truly do not think about it, and it took my 3rd attempt to do that. Like, I did a couple dry Januaries where it was white knuckling Keisha, like, I would cross off the day. I don't even think about crossing the days anymore. Like, on my 3rd attempt, it became something that is just no longer taking up that headspace when for the first 2 attempts, it was the first thing I thought of when I woke up in the morning, "Am I gonna drink today? Did I drink yesterday?" It's not a thing anymore. But if somebody is new to the journey and maybe it does feel like white knuckling, it took me 3 attempts to get to a point where it's not a part of my life. And I'm speaking as someone who used to host a show called Squats and Margaritas and made it part of my lifestyle. And you can get to a point where it's not anymore. And but I
Mhm.
for anyone that's like listening and you're like, I'm not sober. I don't really drink anymore, but I don't say sober because of that restriction deprivation. I can have it if I want, but
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, I choose not to, and I feel so much better, and I'm in perimenopause, and I it doesn't serve me anymore, but as someone is struggling and feeling like they can't get there, it truly took me 3 attempts to get to this headspace around it.
I appreciate you sharing that. I've never really, like, looked at it that way, but I always felt like they should just call it Escapes Anonymous anyway, because I feel like it doesn't really matter what you're jumping out of or into. It's kind of all the same shit. But
Yes.
that makes so much sense to me because so much of the eating disorder stuff is surrounds rigidity and control. And so being abstinent completely and using the language around that, although that's what I need to do because if I have
Sure.
a drink tonight, I'll be in South Beach with my top off. So like that is
Sure.
not going to be good at 51.
Sure.
Um, but that makes so much sense. And I'm grateful that you brought that up because I don't think it is a one size fits all across the board with anything. And I think it's good to talk about this stuff. And I also appreciate you having the desire to, set the record straight because, it is a platform where people listen that may be struggling with either thing.
Yes, I have shame around it, so, like, you can tell when hadn't had a drink in a couple months, and then we were at a brunch, and I had the spicy Bloody Mary, and 2 people were like, "Oh, I thought you didn't drink." And I was like, this is 1 drink that I had in 2 months, and the shame that I felt, like, I've
Mhm.
completely changed my life, but I still have it doesn't work for everyone, and I know that a sobriety approach does work for a lot of people, but for somebody I said when Ginger said alcohol helped me heal, I feel like people would listen to that and be like, "How in the world?" But I was like,
Yeah.
"I feel that." It's something you allow back so you can live normally, but then for me, it did help me, like, get to a point where I could trust my body again, I could have an indulgence. I used to say it was a margarita, but in COVID, it was all margaritas, no squats, and I was a drunk mom on TikTok perpetuating mommy needs a drink, quarantini. Anytime I did a local TV spot, I was either making a margarita or talking about how not to be hungover, and it got cringy. Like, at this point in my
Mhm.
life, I would look at it and I'm not there anymore, and I would wanna talk to women about their sobriety journeys, and my show was called Squats and Margaritas, so I would catch myself being like, "But I don't really drink anymore." So I went full on pivot into therapy and mental health, and really looking at what I'm struggling with, my anxiety, my sobriety, parenting, divorce, and my show completely evolved into what it was supposed to be, but I still do credit Squats and Margaritas for getting that body
Sure.
image monkey off my back and then allowing me to look at, okay, now that that's not looming anymore, maybe I should look at my drinking. And honestly, if I hadn't looked at my drinking, I don't know if I would have filed for divorce. Like that new clarity of just waking up so clear and realizing what I really want and not ever numbing out and not feeling that anymore. I don't know if I would have. And I know that it's the right decision, but that was a step prior to filing for divorce, was
Right.
looking at my sobriety.
That's another common thing that people stay in unhappy marriages, I think, as they're numbing out, right? And then when you sort of become clear, it's almost like if you aren't in a happy marriage, you have a desire and a need then to get out, which probably was being, kept quiet, but ends up coming out in all different ways of being either sick or unhealthy. So yeah, I really do appreciate you sharing that. I think that in large part, so many people struggle with such a variety of things. I remember when I first got sober, I met a woman. I literally was like right at like, you know, sober maybe, I don't know, a month or something. And I met this woman and she had the what is it? The surgery for
Not bad.
lap band. I mean, this was 23 years ago, so there was no GLP-1. But she had that surgery, never ever prior to that had any issues or struggles with alcohol. After having that surgery, she became like a raging alcoholic. And that was like my first introduction into, at the end of the day, we're all just escaping ourselves and our feelings, you know what I mean? And so like whatever
Yes.
you find early on, whether it be food or abstaining from food, or in my case, I found alcohol pretty young. Whatever that thing is that works to turn off this thing, then you just
Yes.
stay the course. But when that thing is taken away from you, I find that too, because I own, my husband and I are founders of a treatment center where we have 17 facilities around the country, and one is an adolescent facility. And, these kids come in, and once you take away the option of the drugs and alcohol, all kinds of other shit comes to the surface. For young girls, very, very, very often, at the very least, distorted, body image, distorted eating.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I think the root is sort of all mixed together. And I just think it's a journey. It's not like you just resolve this shit and it's like gone. And in fact, I had disordered eating and body image stuff after getting sober. So, I
Wow.
got completely sober and then sort of that stuff started to come up. So, I don't know. At the end of the day, I think it's all a journey to really getting down with yourself, and a bunch of stuff sort of tries to get in the way first because it's painful, you
Yes, it's
know?
getting to embodiment. Everything that keeps you disembodied. Like, you don't
Yeah.
wanna feel anything. I had somebody on my show recently, she's like, "Any feeling, whatever it is, like grief or rage, will pass through you in 90 seconds." But what we do is we're like, "Oh, start to feel something," and we pour a
Yeah.
glass of wine, or we go to whatever our crutches or our vice. But she's like, "If you just feel that feeling," we're so used to being like, "Nope, get it out of there." Yes, stuff rises to the surface. You probably had not even thought about those eating disorder tendencies because you were numb. And then when
Yeah.
you come out of it and it's like brighter and there's more, I just said that was looming over me. I would pick fights with my husband. I remember we lived in California and he was coaching college football and I never saw him and I had a newborn and I was just yelling at, like, "You took me away from my friends and family and this, and I never see you, and I'm the only one with the baby." It was all because I was frustrated with my body. Like, I know as soon as I wasn't, I nothing really gets me down that much anymore. So everybody has that thing, and
Yep.
for me, it was, like, the shame of, like, my eating disorders and that thing you don't tell anybody. Maybe the thing that happened to you in the past, it's not happening anymore, that you never unpacked. I will give you a
Yep.
hint. It is whatever you're thinking of right now. Get in there because that is where the magic is. You went
Yep.
through that for a purpose. You are not the only person dealing with that. You're just not saying it out loud. Everybody deals with the same things. Not everyone says it out loud. So then we all feel like it's just us. But you went through that for a reason, and there's
Mhm.
someone in it now. So anyone I say that isn't profoundly lit up by what they do, you haven't found that magic yet, and it's probably in something that you're burying and you haven't shared with anyone else because you just want to be done with it. But you got to sit with it for a second, and
Mhm.
then it loses its power. I have casually referenced bulimia a number of times on this podcast because it's not heavy anymore. It doesn't have
Right.
that hold over me. It's only scary and secretive and shameful because it's in the box. But once you talk about it, it's like, okay, it's off. And I'm telling you, the
Mhm.
rest of your life will open up. So, whatever that thing is for you, get in there, like look at it, talk to your spouse. You don't have to write a book, journal it, and it
Yes.
will be off you. And you'll have more time to look at the things around you that maybe you haven't had time to look at before because you've been disembodied.
Mhm. And I think the first chapter of my book is actually called Baggage Claim. And the idea is that like nobody shows up to parenting empty handed. Like we come with all of our shit. Some of it great, right? Like I grew up with no money. So I feel like I'm gritty and resilient and that's all good. And certainly helps my parenting or it shows up in my parenting, but also I have the trauma that I have and that shows up in my parenting. So unresolved stuff like eating disorders, alcohol abuse, all of that stuff plays a role in our parenting. How would you say that shows up for you?
In parenting,
Mhm.
I've done a lot of inner child work in my therapy journey. My daughter would trigger me. And like when my husband was still
Mhm.
here, he would be like, "You're like responding and like going back at her like you're fighting with girlfriends." And I didn't know where it was coming from. And her age, like she's 10, I have to like look back. It's triggering something from me when I was that age. And
Mhm.
I'm getting to a point where I'm not as reactive, but that inner child work of like what you were experiencing at that time, like your child at that age can kind of spark something in you. And so I'm working on my reactiveness, but I think my past, like how it really shows up in my parenting the most is modeling healthy habits for them. And I love my mom. I'm so close with her if she's listening, but she used to be on the scale every day. And her reaction, she would get on and be like, yes, or, huh. And all that showed me as a little girl was that we get on a scale and that tells us if we're happy or sad. And if there was a wedding coming up or a big event, she was like, oh, I have to go on a diet. That's what you do. You get smaller.
Right.
Your body is not worthy as it is. To go to this event, you have to get little. And I think a lot of moms worry about what they say to their kids and they're very cognizant of like hyping them up and telling them how strong and beautiful and wonderful they are. But your child is watching you. So I am so cognizant of what I
Mhm.
model. I never like talk about my body in front of her. I don't have a scale in the house. I would catch myself even like, "Clean your plate," just like what we were told. My daughter would be
Sure.
like, "Can I be done?" And I'd be like, "No, clean your plate." And now, like, unpacking that, she's getting a fullness cue. "Can I be done?" And I'm saying, "No, ignore that. Keep eating."
Right.
And then it was like, to take it a step further, to get a treat. So it's like she's earning food, which is up on a pedestal.
Right.
Uh, and I admittedly did it when I was little. I would just that's what my mom told me. No, clean your plate, then you can get a treat. So little things like not putting food on a pedestal is something to be
Sure.
earned. Food is neutral. Food is not a reward. I don't say food is good or bad. I always tell this Chick-fil-A cookie story. The cookies at Chick-fil-A are as big as your face. And my
Yes.
daughter said, "Can I have the whole thing?" And what I said is, "How do you think that will make your body feel?" And
Mhm.
so I let her do it, and then she was sick, and she never did again. So I don't say, "No, it's bad for you, it's fattening." It's not labeling it good or bad, it's just I always say, "How does it make your tummy feel?" Listen to your tummy. Um, what are some other
I like
just, like,
that.
things. Yeah, there I'm so passionate about what we're modeling, like, that is you're modeling these toxic traits of body image or and like you're the model for what your child will be and what they will accept in relationship and you're showing them how to live. And again,
Right.
you're so wrapped up in what you're saying to them. I'm sure you're nailing it there, but they are watching you. So if you're like, "Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful," and then you're in the mirror like, "Oh, I got to lose these 10 pounds." She's
Right.
watching that. So you
Yeah.
have to talk to her. I've talked to you like you would talk to her, and if you would not
Mhm.
say something like that to your daughter, stop saying it to you because she's watching. So I think the most of my past has shown up in parenting and what I'm modeling for my kids.
Mhm. And our parents, bless their hearts, they were like so well intended. But I remember my mom used to she hated her legs, like hated her legs. Nobody ever saw the legs, and she was like my biggest and still is my biggest fan. So she would only tell me I was great and perfect. But I also noticed that we had the same legs. So
Oh
it
my
was
gosh.
so,
Right.
you know, I just decided that I also had terrible legs. Um, Also, recently I interviewed Gina. She's a real housewife of Orange County,
She
and
was
she
on my
told me,
show.
oh, she was. She
I
told
d
me the
uh-huh.
best story about she and her mom when she was little. They would go shopping, and she said her mom was very big chested. They would go in to buy shirts or whatever, and the mom could never find a shirt that would fit or like button in like a style she liked. And she said all she can remember is her mom hysterically laughing, trying to button the shirts. And Gina would be in the, dressing room with her cracking up. And she said, I don't even think my mom intended to pass down such a healthy message. She just couldn't find a shirt for her big boobs.
Right.
But the message she got was this place should make different shirts. Like never once did she feel like her mom felt inadequate or, anything negative. And it's such a great example of modeling behavior, to your point. And eating disorders and disordered eating, if we aren't willing, which is what my first chapter is about, to take a peek behind the curtain, it is very difficult to effectively parent, especially when you have all this stuff inside.
Yes, and you could be not willing, like, for pride reasons, like, I didn't have to share that, and I wonder where my life I feel like I'd have a very just like my life would be fine, but I would not have found purpose had I not.
Yes.
So you can choose not to share it and I'm sure your life will be fine. But if you are looking to be profoundly lit up, like a writing coach made me talk about my bulimia. That wasn't something that was going to be in my book. My first book, Squats and Margaritas, was to the woman working out, not seeing results. You can have that daily indulgence, but you got to lift and it's not about cardio. And I figured it out. And his writing coach was like, are you a trainer? Are you a nutritionist? I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Why would anyone listen to you?" Unless there was a story. And I remember Keisha, I was like, "Absolutely not." I was homecoming queen. I was prom queen. I was captain of the soccer team. I had a lot to uphold, and I could have kept it, but I was like, nobody knew what I was really doing, and I was going to my grave, like, I it was the most shameful, gross thing I could think of was
Mhm.
bulimia. So I kept pushing back. I was like, "No, I wanna help the women," and she's like, "You have to share your story or you won't have any credibility," and when I wrote it, like, I was anorexic, I was bulimic, it hadn't even gone back to her yet. I didn't even send an email. It was off, like, I was lighter, and that
Mhm.
I sent it back to her, and she goes, "This is your book." So we reworked the whole thing, and I just wonder if I hadn't put that part in it, because that's the part I get DMs about. That's the part when women are and if
Totally.
you're if you're listening to this and you're like, "It's a shameful thing," I can't tell you how many DMs I got where women were like, "Me too. You're the only person I've told. Not even my husband knows." But it's because I went first, and I found that I have a superpower of vulnerability. Like I've gotten to a point where I can just say the things, and I swear it's because I got the big one off. Now I just share everything,
Well, yeah.
and it's lighter, and there's you see other people deal with it. Just not everyone says it out loud. It's only
Mhm.
scary because you're not saying it, and when somebody says it, gives the next person to uh, have permission. And I've taken it a step further to create something that I sure could have used my foundation when I was younger. I wouldn't talk to my mom because I felt like, she was like, "No, you're great. You're fine." Like, and I'm like, "You don't get it." If I went to therapy, I pictured a man like, "Tell me about your disordered eating." And I'd be like, "You don't get it." So I said, there needs to be a place where women who have been through the things come back and share their stories so that teen girls, middle school and high school, can listen to the stories, their guards come down, they'll feel seen. Like, I would have talked to a 44-year-old woman like me that was like, "Hey, I struggle with the same exact thing." Almost like a mentorship from
Totally.
someone that gets what you've been through. So that purpose, creating something that did not exist before my life, was I went through that pain and that dark time to create something out of it. So if there is a shameful thing in your past, you can make that mean something. And
Mhm.
that's probably why you went through it, because you were supposed to
Yeah,
create something. And then it makes it like purposeful. It wasn't
right.
this scary dark time, and it's only scary because you haven't gotten in there.
And then your whole life starts to make sense.
Yes,
And also I
exactly.
just feel like in general, like not just women, but specifically we're talking about women hold these secrets that they feel are shameful. But it's like the reality is nobody relates to perfection. Nobody wants to hear about the fucking prom queen and you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, no, no, thank you. Um,
Yes.
but I
It's
feel
not that
like,
exciting, and the prom queen wasn't eating, I can guarantee you
yeah,
that.
yeah. So it's like hearing what the truth is what
Yes.
people are attracted to. And it first you gain the freedom from telling your story, and then if you're brave enough to share it, then you allow other people the permission to be free as well. And then what else is there? Like, what else
Yes, it's
is?
like you have nothing else on me, like, once
Yeah,
you say the thing, you're just like, you can live and just things evolve, like, you'll just start to see where it all came from, and again, you could have this great life, but I feel like it would just be very lackluster had I not gotten in there, and I don't know,
yeah.
but I was so close to not sharing this, and it became my life's work. I have a children's book coming out
Mhm.
called I'm Just Like Me, where it's like you're the comparison, and I would always do it with body, but it's like my kids are biracial. So my
Mhm.
daughter would be like, "Nobody's ponytail is like this because it's super curly." She's also super, super tall, stunning girl, but she wants to be little like everybody else. And I wrote a book that's like, you're not supposed to be like anyone else. You were supposed to be like this. And all of it just kind of evolved from getting into a dark thing that I was never going to share. So
Right.
that's the only thing holding you back. Like you might feel like everything's great and I'm just totally content with my life. If you're not profoundly lit up, I guarantee you there is something that you're burying that you haven't looked at in a while and you're scared to get into. It's only scary and secretive and heavy because you haven't yet.
And even if it's not like for me, my stuff wasn't necessarily secretive, but I thought because people would tell me to write a book and I'd be like, what kind of a book is this? This is a fucking downer. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, no thanks. Like what section does that go in? I'm depressed. Like it's like, but the more that I have been able, I think, to impact other women in just that thing that like, hey, you can tell your story too. We can all be free. I have found tremendous value in it, and it has been also very healing for me. So, do you want to give a shout out to the woman who told you to write that in there? I feel like this is like life changing.
Lizzie Vance, I in my second book, I dedicated it to my kids, but I wrote it up. Like you made me Lizzie Vance, a book coach, was like, this is not and she's right. Like people are like, I mean, I wish I could have it somewhere. I have abs and a dumbbell and a drink and I look like it's like, oh, I would have probably when I was in my mess, I'd be like, how do I do that? Like I thought that would give me the credibility and people would want it's kinda like what you said, why would anybody wanna hear about my story of throwing out my food?
Yeah.
And I wanna show women, like, give them the tools, like, ho this is how to
Right.
change your body, but what people resonated with was my story, and it makes
Yeah.
people feel seen, and like you said, it gives them permission to
Yeah.
share. So and then she was in my story for a reason. It's like my brother-in-law was like, "If you're having trouble with this book or she can help you." It's like people come into your life, it's like
Yes.
breadcrumbs and Easter eggs and just, like, little things that you just it all looking back, like, hindsight is 2020, you don't see it when you're in it, but it's like that all I just bought a house recently, my foundation is called Blue Butterfly because I had a blue butterfly visiting me all the time, so I named my foundation that, and I told God that morning, Give me a blue butterfly in this house if it's mine," and I said it, like, I prayed on it, I last room I go in is, like, the kids had, like, a little homeschool room, and on the bulletin board is a blue butterfly, and I, like, kinda grabbed my mom's arm, she was like, "Oh my god." But it's like, once you're open to, like, direction and
Yes.
following what's next, it's like, "Okay, now podcast, now a nonprofit," and now I look for signs now, and it's like, all of this was happening around me when I was numbing out, or not even just like numbing out with something like that's not good for you, or you're on a walk and you're listening to music, or you're looking at your phone, you're scrolling Instagram. Get off your phone and look around you. Like there is guidance in front of you on what you're supposed to be doing, but you're in your phone. And when you start to see it, you almost expect it. Like I knew there was going to be a blue butterfly in that house. I
Right.
know that I'm following the direction now, and it all sparked from something that I was never going to unpack. And I feel like I showed us a lot, but a spiritual business coach, this stayed with me. She said, we all live in three realms. the excellent, the exceptional, and the is like, you're not really lit up by accounting, finance, not my jam. I don't live in that realm. I went to school for, let's say I went to school for, well, maybe you did go to school to be an accountant. So you are proficient in it and you have a degree in it and you have built an excellent life being an accountant. But there is another realm that people rarely step into, and that is exceptional. And that is what you were put on this earth to do. So if you are living a life that you feel content in, you may just be an excellent and you may be an excellent financial advisor or accountant, but maybe you're the person that everybody comes to for advice and you're the one that they run everything by. Maybe that's why you're supposed to be on. Maybe you're supposed to be a coach. So if you're not
Right.
completely lit up and excellent, there's another step and people don't take it because it's comfortable to stay in excellence. So
Yep.
if you aren't feeling completely lit up and only you know it, like you would know if you are, look at some of that stuff that you've been through and maybe that's where your exceptional is. And it's scary
Mhm.
to step out of like what you have a background in it. But there's another realm that you may not be living in, and it may be because you're not getting into that shameful thing that you refuse to look at.
Yeah. I'm lit up, let me tell you.
I
And
can tell. I know.
I was a pharmaceutical rep for a decade, fine,
I should
whatever.
have used that. Perfect.
Yeah,
Yes.
but and you'd think I could get lit up around that because I love to sell shit and I love to talk, but just the impact of telling your story, being vulnerable is wonderful, but getting the feedback that you're helping other people, I don't know that there really is anything better than that. For me
Yes.
personally. And I was very content before, at
Yes.
home, relaxing, watching TikTok, like enjoying my life, all the stuff that I've created. But this is wildly more fantastic for sure.
Exactly. That I should have used your example, that you were comfortable, and it's comfortable,
Yeah,
and you're like, it's you're confident, you're proficient in it, you have a degree in it, so it's like, this is what you do. You don't have to do that. Like, don't feel like because you went to school for this. Do you follow Tanzan Fadal,
of course.
menopause? Okay.
Yes.
I was on her she was a newscaster at Pix 11. She'd been there forever. She's like an anchor, and I had done a show. I was on Pix 11, and we stayed in touch after she interviewed me. She just did my show before she made the jump, and she was like, "I have been" it's like what we're talking about. "I've been doing this for so many years. I like being an anchor, but I feel like there's something else." And she walked away not knowing what the something else was, and now she's like the leading voice in this menopause movement, nothing to do with her background, like what she went to school for. She was great. She was an excellent broadcaster. She has stepped into exceptional. And she took a leap because she didn't have a background. I mean, everybody who's been through menopause, I guess, has a background in it, but she quit her job not knowing what was next, but following this knowing that there was
Yeah.
more. And look at her now.
Mhm.
So,
And you can feel it. You can feel when
yes.
you step into it too, because I just like came up with this wild idea to start this podcast, mostly to sell my parenting book that will come out next year. And I just thought like, I'm 51, like I'm not just gonna start taking weird selfies. Like that's just not a thing. So I was like,
No.
if I'm gonna be on social media, it has to be like authentic. So I started just interviewing moms, really. But what has grown from that is so amazing and it has tapped into something in me that needed to come out. It's like, so I think once you become brave enough to take the step, it just sort of happens if it's authentically where you're supposed to be. Like I'm not driving it. You can't even imagine how hard
It's
pharmaceutical sales was for me. Like I don't have that built-in go because you're supposed to thing. And that job is very, you're sort of on your own. Just like the whole job was hard for me. This is like I can't to be honest, I'm having trouble finding room for fitness right now because I'm so excited to get up and to come into my office that I'm like, you know, just on fire about it. So I think once you find the thing, it sort of just unfolds on its own, to your point.
it Absolutely. I'm so glad you described it like that. It's like the next thing will unfold. I never in a million years thought I would have a podcast, I was going live on Instagram and a radio station director gave me my show, which was Squats and Margaritas. That evolved to therapy. Then I wrote another book, now a nonprofit. It's like the next a children's book. The next thing it will evolve for you. Like you
Yeah.
just have to take the first step. You don't need to know, like Tamsin said, she's like, I just feel like there's more. She didn't know it was menopause. There's things that are for you and why your soul is put on this planet. And like you just said, you know it when you feel it and you're lit up. And if you're not feeling lit up, but you feel comfortable, there may be more for you, and you don't have to have it all planned out. Take a leap. Maybe
Yeah.
start an Instagram page. Share something. It doesn't have to be like some dark thing like mine was. Like maybe you know how to make sourdough bread or you know how to knit. So you make a community, show
Yeah.
your work. It will maybe you start teaching classes. Like you're gonna build a community of something that you love to do, but you weren't considering because you didn't go to school for that. Don't get stuck in excellence. Like, and don't feel like it's so daunting. Like now, if somebody looks at cake for dinner now, it's like, yeah, that probably took so long to build. You didn't need that figured out. You need to take a step and then just let it evolve and not be in the forcing energy. It's more like just sitting back and seeing what comes to you when it's for you. Like this show fell in my lap. If somebody was like,
Mhm.
we are auditioning hosts for a new podcast, that's not ever something I would have clicked on. But what was for me came to me. So, like you said,
Yeah.
in pharmaceutical sales, and it's like hustle and hit your numbers, that driving energy. It's more of a sit back, receiving energy, and putting that vibe out. And what is for you will match that when you're not in the hustle.
You know, it's so crazy. I had a manager once sit down with me. You know, they do the reviews or whatever. And I'd been getting the same feedback since I can remember, like first grade. I was always told, you have so much potential if you would just do X, Y, and Z my entire life. And this guy said to me, you know, I have to ask you, like, what motivates you? Because it's clearly not money. It's not numbers. It's not, and I didn't really have an answer for him. Literally, this is coming to me now. I didn't have an answer for him then. What motivates me is impacting people positively. And I didn't know that then because I was hustling drugs. You know what I mean? Like, do you have a runny nose? Like, nobody gave a shit. And I certainly did not. So I also think to be lit up, you have to sort of find what lights you up. And then from there, it is, you know, it's all an enjoyable experience, or at least it has
Totally.
been for me.
And it could be something you've never even considered. The fact that I
Yeah.
built a wellness, like when I speak, I'm speaking about wellness and finding your best self. I used to be crouched over a toilet like
Right.
abusing my body. It's a complete 180 that it doesn't have to be something that you're proficient in. Share your story. You're not an expert in a lot of things, but you're an expert in your own life. I was an expert at having an eating disorder, so I can talk about how that went and how I
Right.
live now and how to get out of it. You're an expert in your own story. And again, it doesn't have to be dark. What do you love to do? What lights you up? Share it. There are people that will relate to that, and you'll see if that is your thing, you're just going to start getting followers and it's going to build and it evolves and you're in just like this flow state, not this hustle mentality that you probably were in when you were living in excellent. So
Yeah.
take that step, put out the first step is just putting yourself out into the world authentically and organically as you are and trusting that what is for you will match that energy.
I was also a drunk pharmaceutical rep, so I don't know that I was even I don't think I was in excellence. What's below that?
Eh, you're in
I was I
eh.
was definitely eh. Um,
That's so funny.
you also talk about navigating divorce and co-parenting. How did that
Mhm.
chapter of your life reshape how you saw yourself as a woman?
Mm. I am finally the woman that I authentically am supposed to be, and I'm living as this woman. I'm kind of learning her and getting to know her in dating in my
Mm,
40s. So and I would like to say it's very new. I started dating this year and it's been 3 years. First 2 years I was on the couch with my dog and I was sad when I didn't have my kids, but I'm stepping into presenting out into the world as I actually am. And it took me leaving a relationship that was not aligned to find this person. And I was like, I don't want to
mhm.
be too sherry, but I'm like flirty and like some of the things I text, I'm just like, I didn't know that I had
You're
that
like,
in
"Who
me.
is she?"
Yeah, but I like her. I feel like this is
Yes,
her. Like, this
yes.
is who I've always been, but I presented a very, like, my sisters knew some of the texts I've been sending. Like, But I feel like this girl or like
Well,
being
you're
able to date,
free.
I'm free. I this is who I am, and I'm
Yeah,
attracting different energies and matches for this girl. Whereas
right.
the last time I dated, I was 24. This has been 20 years, and I was projecting exactly what I thought a man would want. So anybody that's dating me now is getting exactly who I am, and I'm just kind of seeing her because I'm finally just like content, and I'm not abusing my body anymore. I'm not trying to be chosen and validated. Like if you are in a relationship to get validation and feel like you're the prize. Like, you're not the other
Right,
person isn't the prize. Like, when you realize that, you're not gonna be dating to attract I had a dating coach on, and she was a psychologist. She was like, "Erin, what you are thinking is attraction is anxiety. The guys that you go for, you feel like you have to win over. Like, I'll go after, like, an NFL or, like, I was talking to a guy in a boy band. It's like, what am I do why am I trying to, like, get the attention of people that are
right,
shiny. So, like, "Oh, he texted me back, he DM'd me, like, I'm important." That was how I used to, like, present and what I would chase, and I would get giddy and feel like butterflies, but she's like, "The butterflies is anxiety. You need to find secure and stop being, like, anxiously attached and
right.
chasing to validate that you are worthy because this important person likes you. You are the prize." And once you realize that and you put that out into the world, the right people that match that will just it's kinda like we were talking about with a career. They find
Yeah.
you. It's
Yep,
sobriety. When I was
totally.
like I stopped drinking, I'm like, "How am I gonna date?" And then I randomly meet this guy that I really like, and I'm like, "How am I gonna even say it?" He's like, "Well, I don't drink anymore." And I was like, "Thank you, God." Like, it's like you everything that aligns for you, once you
Yes.
get the things that were out
When
of
you're on the
alignment
right
out.
path, you will know. I feel like when you're on the right path, it's kinda like you see the people in the marathon, there's the people with the tiny little cups of water. Like, when you're on the right path, it's like life just hands you tiny cups of water, you know what I mean? And I know what it's like to be on the wrong path too. There's, like, a lot of fucking speed bumps, and it's just a
Yes.
disaster, you know?
It's
So,
flow. You're just in
it
this
just
it feels too
flows.
easy.
But
You're not trying to win
you
someone
also
over. You're
feel supported in it. It feels like there's momentum, you know?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so at what point did you realize this isn't just something you're going through? This is something you're meant to share it and help other women with. So like when did you think you know what? Like I could really give back by sharing this story. Like maybe she recommended that you share the eating disorder part. How did you come to grips with that?
She pulled it out of me. She made me share it. But what I felt called to write Squats and Margaritas, A Journey to Finding Balance, to help women who I see, who were me, on the cardio machine, just sweating. They don't go in the
Mhm.
weight room because the men are in the weight room, barely eating salads. I did that for so long, and I felt like I had the the playbook of how to change
Right.
your body. So I wanted to help women. I thought my purpose was I went through all the eating disorders to show women how to find their best body. And it was kind of like you. I wanted to serve other women. Like, guys, go lift. It's not cardio and it's not restriction. Eat all the time. It's actually the opposite. So I felt called to help women find their best body. But then the part of my book that was not that Lizzie made me put in was what resonated with people. And I
Right.
think I knew, like, to answer your question, what I knew I was supposed to share it was when I started to get the DMs that they were like, "Thank you for saying it." Oh, and me too. And then it became easier for me to say it because I knew I wasn't alone. I realized like I was supposed to say it to give permission to other people. And while I thought my purpose was to help women find their best bodies, the part of my book that wasn't going to be in the book was actually my purpose. And putting it out
Which
there
is
was scary.
to
Go
help
ahead.
women find their best selves, I guess,
Yeah,
right?
it
So the
evolved. It's
body
not
is
about a
just
Yeah, I started my second book, like, I thought I was writing as my highest self, like, "Look at these abs. This is how
yeah,
you do it after I used to restrict, and now I have margaritas every day, and you can too." And I did it I'll say it again, that is what changed my body, allowing indulgences and not being restrictive, but that was just part of it. Like, there's a
right.
whole 'nother evolution as we've unpacked. Once you get that off, you have a little bit more time to look at more like, look at my sobriety, look at my relationship. I got my big thing off, which was that black cloud of body image and comparing my body to everybody else. I got that off me. And then when I went to serve women in that capacity, I know how to make you lose this weight that you're holding on to. You're doing it the wrong way. You're doing it the way women are taught to do, less calories. I have the answer. It was what I needed to put that out. It's all purposeful. It all had to happen, but that led to the
Mhm.
next evolution. And now my show that used to be a fitness show shares vulnerable conversations of me getting coaching from a therapist of about my co-parenting, anxiety, sobriety. So you can click on any episode that you may be struggling in. And I know my purpose is to share my vulnerability, ask the questions so that the person listening can get all the answers without having to be vulnerable themselves. So I just made my show my therapy sessions, and you just get to kind of like listen in. And what's funny is Squats and Margaritas, I trademarked. I had Katie Couric and Gabby Bernstein and Melissa Joan Hart, and I thought it was like my thing. That show did all right. Therapy, which I was so scared to step into, is a top 1% podcast. So it's like,
Yeah.
don't hold on to something that you're like, this is this, I trademarked it. It's got like singing excellent. No, I did all this work. I'm the margarita girl. If it's not, it's like Tamsin. If it's not feeling aligned and you're feeling, follow
Yes.
that, because that is where you will find your exceptional.
Yes. And through that, you found your freedom, which is so beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm
It
so
is.
I'm
I,
so
it's,
I'm so happy for you, and I'm so happy for everybody listening to you, because so many people spend their life in bondage, and also feeling so much shame. So I'm grateful that you have been brave enough to tell your story so that other people can tell theirs. If someone wants to hear more, they want to see your podcast, they want to read your books, they have questions, how can they reach out to you?
Sure. I show up the most on Instagram. I am Erin Washington. I also have a podcast page on Instagram for Therapy. Therapy with Erin Washington, you can get wherever you get your podcasts, and it comes out every Monday. Vulnerable therapy sessions with a coach or a psychologist, psychiatrist about whatever I'm going through. And it's for you if you're dealing with sobriety, anxiety, co parenting, dating in your 40s, divorce, any of those topics. The Blue Butterflies is my foundation, bluebutterflies.org. If you are dealing with a teenager that is comparing, and again, I didn't have social media, so I can't even imagine what these girls are dealing with. But if
Mm.
you want to bring a Blue Butterfly event to your area, I talk to middle school and high school girls, and I bring in people that talk about all different aspects of life. I talk about eating disorders and body image. We have people that talk about sexual identity, anything that a teenage girl is struggling with that feels like she can't talk to her mom. We come in and do events. My book is called From Pain to Purpose, Finding Meaning in the Mess, and that is available on Amazon. And I think that's all the things.
Amazing. And if you haven't already subscribed to Cake for Dinner, please do so. Our goal is to really bring the truth to women and allow people the permission to sort of be themselves and tell their stories. You can find us everywhere you'd find a podcast: Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. And we will be back here next week.